Hi Year 7, so this lesson is on adding and subtracting fractions with the same denominator. So remember, the denominator is the number that is down the bottom. So fractions which have the same denominator can be added or subtracted by adding or subtracting the numerators. The denominator stays the same. The reason why that is if we have, let's have a think about if you've got a pizza. Okay, so let's say it's chopped into quarters. Provided my next pizza is also in quarters, or if I've got a quarter of a pizza here, they are the same size. So I can simply add or subtract because they're already the same size of the whole. Okay, so it's quite easy when we're adding or subtracting. So what we're going to have if we've got the same denominator, if we've got 1 over 5 plus 1 over 5, we're looking at 1 plus 1 over 5. We don't add the denominators together because remember, that's telling us the size of the piece. Okay, so that's going to give us 2 over 5. When we've got 3 over 7 plus 4 over 7, that means I've got 3 sevenths plus 4 sevenths. So we've got 3 plus 4 that were cut into 7 pieces. So I've got 7 over 7, which equals 1. An eighth plus 2 eighths. Okay, so if you have a think about this one here, I'm going to do a quick little picture of it to explain again why we don't need to add the denominators together. Here's one pizza that's been cut into 8 equal pieces. Here's another pizza that's been cut into 8 equal pieces. And let's say that in the first one, I've got 1 out of 8 coloured in. And in the second one, I've got 2 out of 8 pieces coloured in. Okay, so how many pieces all together, if we combine them together, I could take these 2 blue pieces and add them over here. Okay, and then I would have 3 out of 8 pieces all together coloured in the one piece. So that shows us that we don't need to add the denominators together. So for 1 over 8 plus 2 over 8, we're looking for 1 plus 2 over 8, which equals 3 over 8. Then we go up here. Subtraction is the same. So if you think about my eighths that I had up here, this little diagram that I did, if I had, well, let's say as I've got in the first circle there that's got the square around it, I've got 3 eighths coloured in. If I took away those 2 eighths again, those 2 blue pieces, I'm back to having 1 eighth. So we don't need to do anything with our denominators if they're the same for adding and subtracting. We're simply going to add or subtract our numerators. So 7 tenths minus 2 tenths. The denominators are the same, so we're putting them over 10 and we're doing 7 take away 2, which is 5 over 10. And then we've got a common factor that we can divide by. So I can divide the top and the bottom both by 5, and that's going to give me 1 over 2. Okay, so with our next example, our denominators are the same, so it's going to be over 9. And then we've got 5 minus 2. 5 take away 2 is equal to 3 over 9. And again, we've got a common factor. We can divide the top and the bottom by 3, which gives me 1 over 3. And then the last one we've got to have a look at, we've got 5 over 6 minus 2 over 6. So again, our denominators are the same, so we put both of them over the 1 6, and we say 5 minus 2. 5 take away 2 is 3, and we still have our denominator of 6. And again, we can divide by a common factor of 3. So we get 1 over 2. So once you've had a chance to write down those examples into your purple booklet, the next thing you're going to do is the worksheet, and I'll just go through that on the next page. Okay, so what you're going to do, this whole sheet will be on adding and subtracting fractions with common denominators. So you can see in each of these questions, the denominator is the same. So you just need to add or subtract the fractions. Because these are so simple, what you can do is you can just put your answers on the sheet. So you can do, your denominator is going to stay the same. Okay, so for the first one, you'll have a denominator of 12. 11 take away 4 is equal to 7. And you can simply do it like that for these ones. If you don't have enough space on your sheet for the size of your writing, you can do it in your maths book. Next thing is you're going to use 2 different colours to add the fractions on the diagrams, then record your answers. Okay, and you're going to write them as an improper fraction and a mixed number. So you're colouring the squares in to help you do the question. So we've got, in this first one, the question was 2/3 plus 2/3, and then what it equaled. So the first lot of 2/3 got coloured in pink based on this fraction. Okay, and so that's what got coloured in this part here. And then the next 2/3, we coloured in 1/3 in this one, and 1/3 in this one, which gave us 2/3 again. And so we ended up with 4 parts coloured in when the block was cut into 3. So we get 4/3, and then you should know how to simplify a fraction from an improper fraction of 4/3 to 1 1/3. So do some colouring in, so you can shade in a couple of different colours and then add them together. The next part, you've got a number line, and you're going to use the number line to add the fraction. So all of these fractions, the number line has been divided into 12ths. So you've got all of those fractions there. So the first one, the first number gives you your starting point. So we're going to start at 8/12. Okay, then we're going to add 5/12. So we're going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/12. I've gone beyond the 1, so I've got 1 1/12. So 8 and 5/12 will equal 13/12 because we add the 8 plus 5, which from our number line we can see is 1 1/12. Okay, so with this page for questions 4 to 7, you've got the instructions for each one. You're going to show how these fractions can be added or subtracted on the number line supplied. I know some of them are quite easy, but I do want you to actually show it on the number line what you are doing. Then you're going to add or subtract some common fractions, and just be aware that with the bottom ones, with L and P, L to P, you've got 3 parts to the fraction. So just be very careful with what you're doing with how you're adding. Okay, and then you're going to add some fractions together and then convert to a mixed number, which we have done previously as well. So just remember, you've got the first one done for you here in 6A, but if we've got 8/8 plus 3/8, we've got 11/8. So if you've got 11/8, you've got to think to yourself, how many times does 11 go into 8? And it's 1 remainder 3. So we end up with 1 3/8. And that 8 is the denominator, the 3 was our remainder.